Hey, welcome back. It's time for lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it is really solved already, you will still have the problem because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they are all the same and must be recognized as one if the one solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he is given the answer, he cannot see its relevance. That is the position in which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you are still uncertain about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seem to confront you, and as one is settled, the next one and the next arise. There seems to be no end to them. There is no time in which you feel completely free of problems and at peace. Does that ring a bell? Because it did for me, and it still does for me. I'm still working on this. There's still issues that come up, problems that keep arising, but we don't really know the root of the problem. We aren't aware of what is really going on. And until we can dig down and figure out what the root is, the problems will just keep growing. Have you ever had bamboo? The bamboo will just keep growing no matter how many times you cut off the top. Underneath the surface, there's all these shoots, and they're shooting out more and more. We have to get down to the deepest part, dig that part out, and then our problems will disappear. Right? I hope so. No one could solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels, in such varying forms and with such varied content that they confront you with an impossible situation. Dismay and depression are inevitable as you regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly, just as you think you have resolved the previous ones. Others remain unsolved under a cloud of denial and rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again, but still unsolved. All this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem, and therefore not to let it be resolved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying constancy in all the problems that seem to confront you, you would understand that you have the means to solve them all. And you would use the means because you recognize the problem. So I do have a hard time with this one because sometimes I don't think I really understand what it all means, and the whole idea of separation, and that our belief in separation is what's causing all of our problems. I'm trying to understand this idea. It's to me, for me anyway, it's a big idea, and I guess it is, because if it's the root of all of our problems, then I guess it makes sense that it would be a little difficult for me to understand. If it were easy, all my problems would be gone. So in the idea of separation, I guess we just think about when you're upset with somebody else, you're seeing them as someone else. But when you see them as one, as connected, as whole, then I guess we have more compassion as far as problems like paying bills or not doing well on a test. I don't know. I'm kind of curious as to how, seeing that we're all connected and we're not separated, how that notion solves those problems. I'm open to it. I don't yet understand it. If you do, please share with me, because this part is still confusing for me. In our longer practice periods today, we will ask what the problem is and what is the answer to it. We will not assume that we already know. We will try to free our minds of all the many different kinds of problems we think we have. We will try to realize that we have only one problem, which we have failed to recognize. We will ask what it is and wait for the answer. We will be told. Then we will ask for the solution to it, and we will be told. So I'm thinking about maybe the idea is that if we really saw that we truly are connected and we are of God and we're connected to God, then we would realize that all our problems on earth are minuscule and don't really matter, and we won't give them so much weight. And in not giving them weight and stressing about them, then perhaps we free ourselves for a solution to come to mind. But when we're stressing about it, we are focusing on the negative, then we're not able to open our minds to what the solution could be. I don't know. I'm still working this out, as you can see. Okay, the exercises for today will be successful to the extent to which you do not insist on defining the problem. Perhaps you will not succeed in letting all your preconceived notions go, but that is not necessary. All that is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your version of what your problems are. So maybe we just don't really understand our problems, and that's what it's trying to tell us. You don't get what's wrong, and we need to understand what's wrong. So Holy Spirit, higher self, is going to help us understand that. You are trying to recognize that you have been given the answer by recognizing the problem, so that the problem and the answer can be brought together and you can be at peace. The shorter practice periods for today will not be set by time, but by need. You will see many problems today, each one calling for an answer. Our efforts will be directed toward recognizing that there is only one problem and one answer. In this recognition are all problems solved. In this recognition there is peace. Be not deceived by the form of problems today. Whenever any difficulty seems to rise, tell yourself quickly, let me recognize this problem so it can be solved. So anytime you're feeling frustrated or whatever negative emotion you're feeling, whenever you feel that, then that's a clue. Okay, I need to check in. I need to understand what the problem is and then wait for the solution. And, Ken Wapnick, who was a person who taught about the Course in Miracles for many years, he talks about how, and it's in the Course, but that everything anyone does is a cry for love or an expression of love. And so every problem you have, you're just looking at how can I respond to this situation in the most loving way possible. And, that's why we turn to our highest self, because sometimes we don't know the most loving way on our own. The ego's way is not the most loving way, and that's our knee-jerk reaction. Okay, then try to suspend all judgment about what the problem is. If possible, close your eyes for a moment and ask what it is. You will be heard, and you will be answered. Okay, I have a note here that I wrote down. It says, this is a promise. Our problem is... okay, so I guess I got an answer to what our problem is. And here's what it was back whenever I did this lesson. Our problem is we fail to see how everything is one, connected energy. All of creation, great and small, living and not, past and present, plant, animal, and element, we are all connected and affected by one another. The solution is love. Love for oneself and all. Choose to be in the energy and vibration of love. See through the eyes of love. Love one another. They know not what they do. So that little bit at the bottom is what Jesus said to his Father, our Father, when he was nailed to the cross, and he told he pleaded with God and said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And that's the truth about all of us. I mean, none of us really know what we do. None of us really realize what we're saying. And especially if someone's doing something unkind, they don't realize that we're one. They don't realize that what they're doing to you is just as detrimental to themselves as it is to you. So, I don't know. I like this lesson. Surprise, surprise. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. So, perhaps you think, I don't have any problems right now. Good. But I bet if you sit for a little bit and meditate on this, there will be thoughts that come to mind of some grievance, some issue, something to be solved. And it's there. It's there because we're still here and we're still working and learning, and they keep coming up. But eventually, hopefully one day, we will be living in such a way that problems no longer arise because we have figured it out and we get it and we're on board and we're growing and changing and becoming aware of our unity, our connection, and choosing to live from a place of love, real love, unconditional love. All right? So, I love you. Tell yourself that often. Look in the mirror, say I love you, express love to yourself and to those around you, and have a fantastic night. Take care.